Hi everybody, welcome back once again to the Eastfield Gunroom YouTube channel with me, Matthew Morgan. As ever, I want to thank you all for your continued support. We love the fact that you're liking the video, subscribing to the channel. If you haven't already done that, do hit the pause button, do hit like, do hit subscribe because we do appreciate your support. As ever, this video is proudly sponsored by the British Shooting Show, the largest shooting show in the British calendar. Now, if you can see a goat over my shoulder, you're not imagining things, they are outside, as are we in the glorious British sunshine. And in front of us, we've got something a bit different today. We have got a high rib shotgun. I've had a lot of inquiries recently about high rib shotguns, this gun in particular, and also, you know, what are they kind of used for, who are they suitable for? So I thought what I'll do is I'll get hold of a high rib, we'll go through the features, explain what they're for, and here we are. So what I've got here is I have got a Brownings 725 ProMaster. Now we have looked at a couple of 725s on the channel, or certainly the new 825. If you haven't seen those videos, do check those out. So what that is, it's the low profile action from Browning. It was launched back in 2011. This particular model, which is the high rib ProMaster, launched in 2019. Now, before we get onto the rib, we'll start with the action. Now, what we've got here, like I said, we've got the low profile action. It is brushed finish completely, and we've got the words ProMaster on the side. If you have a Pro Trap from the same era, they're still manufactured today, obviously under the 825 banner. It's exactly the same in terms of the design of the action and the barrels. So ProMaster brushed finish. Underneath we've got B725 ProMaster. The B of course stands for banana, no, it's Browning, and the rest of it is exactly how you expect a 725 to be. We've got a brushed finish trigger guide with a gold trigger, fully adjustable. It's a 3-position trigger like you get on all 525s, 725s. Nothing really innovative that way, although the big thing with the 725 from its launch has always been the fact that there is increased reliability and a quicker lock time, if you like, because the trigger is of a mechanical operation rather than inertia. The only issue you can potentially have with that is if you've got a really big heavy stock like you have on the Pro Sport, the Pro Trap, the ProMaster, is sometimes they don't quite cycle fully with 21-gram cartridge. Now the top of the action is completely brushed. You can see the brush mark as you can on the rest of the action, and on the top lever we've got the traditional Browning bookmark heads logo as you would expect, and in terms of the top lever itself we've got some nice little grippy stuff, of course, on the right hand side, just to ease the operation for the opening and closing for the shotgun user. The selector, same as any other 75 or really any other Browning. Remember, we looked at the new 825 where they have changed the design of it. It's like an upside down munchie. Now that's enough for the action. Let's move on to the barrels. So as you can see, on top of the barrels we have got what looks like the 4th road bridge. That's the rib. Starting off at the back end, we have got 18.7 bores. We've got high performance steel shot proof, fleur-de-lis stamped on the barrels, made in Japan. Engine turn, nicely engine turned ejectors, and of course the back end of the lump which houses into the action. All done in a matte finish. And then as we move slightly forward, this is where the fun starts. So the whole idea behind the ProMaster is that it's got a fully adjustable floating rib. So what you can actually do is, with the help of this pin here and this wheel on the front, pin wheel sounds like some sort of crisp, you can give it a twist and you can actually raise or lower the height of the rib, which will ultimately change the point of impact. Now Browning claim there are 3 kind of settings for this gun. We've got 60-40, 70-30 and 50-50. Yes, you can twizzle around with your wheel of fortune on the front end and move the rib up and down, but ultimately the only way you're really going to know where this shotgun is shooting will be on a pattern plate. Whole thing is matte finish. We've got ventilated barrels. The rib itself is of course a lightweight alloy because we don't want to weigh too much on the top of the barrels because it make the gun weigh 100 million pounds. 11x8 tapered rib and no centre bead. On the front end we have got a standard high-vis foresight bead, which you get extra ones in the box we hope, and multi-choke with the Invector DS system. Now I have said this time and time again, this gun, although it comes with 8 chokes, a lot of them are never going to be any use because the ProMaster as a concept is designed for people who want to shoot a bit of everything, sporting, skeet, trap, whatever. As a choke, personally, I would get rid of these and buy a set of Teagues or maybe a set of Bellex, because having patterned them extensively in the past, they're not the best. That might not be your personal experience. Feel free to comment below. So whilst we're talking about the barrels, we'll go back to the fundamental dynamics, if you like, of what the gun is supposed to do. If you have the gun set up at 60-40, which is what most sporting shotguns will be set up for, which basically means 60% of the pattern above the target, 40% below, that is a kind of a standard setup. 70-30, of course, you're shooting a higher gun, so that'll be good for sort of trap disciplines, and 50-50 is very much straight down the middle. You know, if you want a flat shooting gun, that is how I would recommend you set one of these guns up. So it's a very versatile gun. It's very much an all-rounder. There are certain characteristics of it that lend itself to a different type of shooter rather than a standard off the peg gun, which we'll talk about, which is mainly to do with the stock and the setup of the stock. However, from the actual rib perspective, very, very versatile. You can do a lot of stuff with this. And if you do find the 32-inch barrels a bit long, they also do it in 30. The final point I'm going to make with the barrels, as with all of the Pro Series guns from Browning, i.e. the Pro Sport, the Pro Trap, they do come with a series of barrel weights, which will be encapsulated in, no doubt, a grey box in the case. And the idea with that, of course, if you do find the gun too whippy on the front end, you can put the weights along the length of the centre rib, and that way you can fine tune the gun to however you want it in terms of the barrel weight. Whilst we've got it apart, regardless of whether you get a Pro Trap or a ProMaster, sounds like some kind of frying pan set, you will have a beaver tail forend. It's not that you can't fit a schnabel or a rounded forend onto this particular gun. It's just that it's kind of the optimum design, particularly when you look at the fact you've got a lot of weight up at the front, and that's just going to give you a bit more control regardless of the discipline. So in line with the rest of the gun, we've got a brushed, polished forend eye from top to toe, completely brushed there. We haven't even got the Browning bookmark. You can assume that maybe the man that put the bookmarks on was on holiday when this gun was manufactured. And we've got a completely polished, plain forend catch. Onto the stock itself, or the woodwork, shall we say. This is class 4 or grade 4 Turkish, well, European certainly, walnut. It's not American, because we've talked about this before. Browning don't really put American walnut on many of their guns because that's usually kept for the Miracus, and it's all down to politics. So the stock itself, this is where you get the big difference and ties in with having that big rib on the front end. So what we've got is we've got, apart from the grade, like I've just said, we've got class 4, grade 4 European walnut, which is nicely figured, got some nice colour, nice and straight through the head, with a factory oil finish that someone's probably been at with a little bit with a feather duster, give it a bit of a buff. But the most important thing is, of course, the ergonomics of the stock, and we've got a fully adjustable Monte Carlo. Now, the first thing I want to point out is the length of the stock. This is 15 inches with a Pachmayr decelerator recoil pad. You get another pad in the box to make it a little bit shorter. This is the bigger one. This is 25mm. They also come with, I think, a 20mm. But most importantly, this Monte Carlo gives you about 5 or 6mm a drop. So the idea with this is that it's a very much a head up shooting position. So if you're a tall guy with a long neck and you want a gun that's going to do a bit of everything, that's got a nice bit of weight to it, this might be the answer for you, because what you don't have to do is you don't have to crane your head back if you've got shoulder problems, neck problems, anything like that. This can be a very, very comfortable experience in terms of shooting a shotgun. So it's fully adjustable. We talked about the figuring, which obviously is very nice. We've got double point checkering, we've got a nice long pistol grip, and not an over the top palm swell. If you're a 725 owner, please feel free to comment below, but you'll recall that when they launched the 725 range of guns back in 2011, 2012, the first of the sports had this enormous palm swell, almost as big as a half-ton bag from Jewson's. Like I said, double point checkering, and it just feels really, really nice. It's a big piece of wood, but it needs to be a big piece of wood because you've got quite a lot of weight on the front end. What does it weigh, I hear you shout? £8 13 ounces, and this gun currently hasn't got any weights in the stock because, again, to complement the barrel weight set, you also get the stock balancing kit, which is the one that you can remove or add weights to as much as you want, and it's screwed into the back of the stock just below where the stock bolt sits. So in essence, if you've got something like a Krieghoff Super Sport and you're used to a big heavy £9 3 ounce gun and you want something for wet weather, or you just want to try a high rib, this could be an option for you because you will be able to get it up to that weight. Okay, so we'll pop it together and then we can see how it balances with no weighting whatsoever. So remember, if you look at the physics of it, we've got quite a low profile action with a big chunky piece of wood on the back and a big lot of barrels on the front. Now actually, that isn't too bad. It's probably, if anything, a little bit barrel heavy. So what we'll do is we'll be able to get the stock weights out, put 3 or 4 of them. I can't quite remember off the top of my head what the grammage of them is, but we'll see that when we look inside the box. But you know, who cares? They're in there, we can play around with them. And like I said, in terms of a gun that's a little bit different, but it's more about the fact that if you have shoulder injuries, neck injuries, and you want something that's more head up, you don't want to be craning your head down. And in my opinion, the Monte Carlo will always go hand in hand with the high adjustable rib. I don't really see how you can have a Monte Carlo with a flat rib personally. I think that the two of them, like I said, complement each other well and give you the maximum in adjustment. So we talked about the fundamentals of what the gun is for, who it might be suitable for, but let's have a look in the box. So the case is instantly recognizable as a Browning case because it's got a bookmark and Browning in great big bloody letters. We've seen it before. We've seen it with the 825 S3. We've seen it with the original Ultra XS or the XS Prestige more recently. The only difference is, of course, because this gun has got a great big enormous rib on it and a bigger stock, the case needs to be bigger to accommodate all that. So inside we have got this black stuff as usual. Like I said, it's the same kind of box. It's in the greeny case. It's just been elongated, if you like, to accommodate this particular gun. And before we look inside the case itself, just to bring you bang up to date, so this gun is a 2022 model. The gun was first launched in 2019 and discontinued in 2024, obviously to make way for the 825 version. We have done a video on the 825. Do check that out. It will give you an idea of the very subtle differences, although what I would say, there's not a huge amount of difference. And if you were looking to just have a go with a high rib gun with a Monte Carlo, so to see if it was for you, then this is a very, very good option on the used market. Right, into the case. So straight away, we talked about the extra Patmeyer pad. Here it is. That is the 15mm one. They are grind to fit, so it's not like an Inflex pad with a 525. You can't just bolt one on the back. These are individually tailor-made, custom fitted to these guns. And you'll know that because you have the serial number written in chalk or hieroglyphics on the bottom. Box number 1. Now usually when I open this, it looks like it's been in an earthquake and everything's gone everywhere. So let's just try. Oh look, yeah. So what we've got is we've got a series of Allen keys because we've got the Allen key for the trigger, we've got the Allen key for the weight set, we've got the little tool for the barrel weights, and we've got the Allen key for the stocks. So that's why it looks like B&Q in here. So various Allen keys. There's your barrel weights. You only get 2 and they are 37 grams each. So my math says you can put 74 grams or just under 3 ounces onto the front of the barrels. And like I say, with it being quite a clever design, you can go anywhere along the center of the rib and just put your barrel weights on. So you've got 2 of those with the appropriate screws. T-bar Browning choke key, we've seen those many times. There's your extra little high-vis beads hiding in a little tube. The idea with that is you can just put it onto your belt, have your earpiece and hang them up there, or put it onto your gun slip. That's quite cool. And there are the stock weights, which are 20 grams each. So you've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 120 grams, which again is like 3.5 ounces that you can add into the stock should you want it to be heavier in your back end. Spacers for the adjustable comb, just a point of reference, that's all they're there for. And that is it. Initially, I think these guns probably came with spare triggers. There's certainly some cutouts in the foam for spare triggers. This is obviously a pre-owned gun. I don't know where they've gone or whether it came with them in the first place, although it's just a generic piece of foam. Who knows? Comment below. Okay, into the choke box. I've made my feelings quite clear on these DS chokes. I don't believe that they're the best. I also believe that there's many in this box you will never use, regardless of the style of shooting you do. But you are covered from cylinder up to full with a couple of extra ones that you can maybe use as pastry cutters or something like that. Book of words, 725 Pro Trap. Now this gun, of course, is a ProMaster. However, Browning weren't going to go to the trouble and the expense of producing an individual booklet for what is essentially the same gun, apart from slight differences in the back end in terms of the stock design, and also the rib on the Pro Trap is I believe a parallel 11 or 12mm, whereas on the Master is a tapered rib. Proof certificate, we've got 1626 barrels, so we said they were quite heavy. They are heavy for 32 inch, but imagine if they hadn't put that alloy rib on the top, it'd be like 14 pounds. So you've also got barrel socks and all the bump for the warranty and that kind of stuff. Interestingly, there's no trigger lock in here, which means for once someone's actually used it. So that's the case, that's the gun. Like I said, a lot of people asking me about high rib guns, so I thought let's get one, let's talk about it, talk about what the uses are and who they might be suitable for. If you've got any questions about this particular gun, please do contact me directly. Details are on the screen. Feel free to contact me about anything shotgun related. I will do my best to help. Don't forget to check out the website. Don't forget to hit like and subscribe to the channel if you have enjoyed watching me on this Sunday evening or whenever you're watching it. This video is proudly sponsored by the British Shooting Show, so if you haven't already got it in the diary for next year, do make sure you do that. Like I said, an overall explanation of a high rib gun. Going to do a lot of things for a lot of people, but ultimately it's not for everyone. It's horses for courses. I'll see you next time.